I know.
Yeah, they're different.
Hi. Hi, Donna. Nice to meet you too. Yes, I love this one. I live right near you.
All right, I think we are ready to get started.
Before we do, if I may.
Oh, sure, please.
Hi, everybody. Welcome today. My name is Mark Dwight. I'm the president of the Small Business Commission and one of your hosts here today. Before we get started, I want to thank Comcast Business for being our sponsor for all of the events today. They're a great sponsor of Small Business Week, and I will say this seminar format, last year was the first time that I had ever been to it, and I came sort of skeptical. I'm a small business owner myself. I own Rickshaw Bagworks and Dogpatch, and like all business owners and small business owners, it's always like, oh, I don't have time to do this. I got to run my business. And the first presentation I went to was a marketing presentation. It was absolutely fantastic, as good as many of the TED Talks that I've seen. And so I was hooked. And so it made me a much better host after I had actually been and seen what happened. So anyway, this should be really great. Take a break from your own social media and enjoy the thoughts of some of the experts in social media. I happen to know from having sat here for 90 minutes, the last session, the seats up front are way more comfortable than seats in back. So, and it's also kind of courtesy to kind of move up a little bit. So if you guys want to move up and not kind of take back seats, that would be great. So from there, Jess, take it, all right?
All right. So welcome to our panel, Social Media, Friend or Foe. I'm Jess, I'm with Kabbage, and we are an online platform. We allow small business owners to use the power of their own data in order to access working capital to grow for things like marketing or equipment, anything you might need a line of working capital for. And we do online loans within minutes, no forms, no waiting. We have a booth downstairs with some amazing treats from some of our wonderful customers, so I definitely invite you to go check it out after the panel and between your breaks. There's some cookies down there. They're really good. I head up social media and content marketing at Kabbage. I've been in social media and content marketing for about as long as social media started to become very popular. Before I moved over into the data and tech world, I worked in animal rescue and advocacy, so I did a lot of work on the federal campaign to get Ringling Brothers to stop using elephants in their circus, which you may know did. As well as worked in helping rescue exotic animals used for entertainment. Even though I'm still out of the game, I still do foster. So I am the mom to 3 dogs, 2 cats, and a foster kitten who was born with a birth defect that makes him burp. And so I wanted to give the panelists an opportunity to introduce themselves, and I have to give apologies because I just realized I left one of the panelists' info off. So we will make sure that we get everyone's information out to you guys so that if you want to follow up with them, you absolutely can. But we'll start, Tom, with you and go down the line.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Do I need this microphone?
Yes.
Okay, my name's Tom James. I founded a small social media marketing agency called Overall Social about 4 years ago, and prior to that I was an executive in the mainstream media world for about 20 years, from which I retired and moved to San Francisco, and then realized that you spend a lot of money really quickly when you're retired and living in San Francisco. So I started working again immediately and trying to just help out small business owners. I mainly work with organic food providers and artisan food creators. So.
My name is Jessie Black, and I'm a boutique owner and interior designer. And I moved to San Francisco just about 3 years ago and opened my first boutique here in San Francisco a few months after that. My background is traditionally in brand strategy and marketing, but I moved over to the more visual side probably about 8 years ago now. We're located in Presidio Heights on Sacramento Street, but we've recently launched our e-commerce platform, of which we've relied heavily on our social media following to grow and to develop. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Erica Olson, and I opened a cookie shop in San Francisco just about a year and 2 weeks ago. It's called Cookie Love, and it's down on the corner of Pine and Polk Street. And this was a huge change for me because I've spent the last almost 2 decades working in corporate life and working for a very large company. And several years ago, I just kind of got to the point where I felt like I was done with corporate life. I wanted to do something completely different, and I did a complete 180 basically and decided to start my own business in the city. And I've lived in the city pretty steadily off and on for about 20 years. So, I feel very connected to the city, and I just thought it would be very exciting to try and start my own business here. And it has been a crazy, challenging learning experience. And I knew that a big component of being successful in this city was to utilize social media. So I have attempted to do that with my good friend Tom over here helping me on that end. And yeah, so that's my story in a nutshell.
Hi everyone, very nice to see everyone here today. My name is Donna O'Leary and I own Ambiance. And we've been in business for 20 years. We have 4 locations, also a warehouse downtown. We have 85 employees. And we love San Francisco, very simply. My own background is just good old retail. I have worked in retail for most of my adult life. That's what I love, fashion retail, obviously women's. And I am not an expert in social media, so I'm not really an expert, but I know that we utilize it very successfully. So I have lots of good tips about that, but don't ask me anything technical. Okay, that was just the point I wanted to make. I also have a business partner who's my husband, but I'm representing Ambiance today. Thank you.
Wonderful. So the idea of this panel, and that was a wonderful leaping off point, is that we looked at some businesses that we felt were doing a great job at social media, because the one thing that we have that we find that small businesses have in common is no time to run social media. Usually no time to shower, let alone run social media. So we wanted to get you guys in front of people who actually are doing it and can give you those tips on what they do. And before we launch in, I have a series of questions for them that they're going to answer. But before we did that, I just kind of wanted to launch into just some interesting stats that I found. This is a little bit of incentive as to why to use social media in your business. When we looked at top reasons people follow businesses on social media, it was promotions and discounts is a big one. Latest product information, and then customer service. I'm sure everyone here has probably used Twitter or Facebook as a venue to reach someone for customer service, so it's a big area for customer service as well. Most popular social media sites in the US by visits is Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And this is interesting. So these are professional attitudes towards whether or not social media adds values to businesses. They're kind of all over the place, but the overarching sentiment is that it at least adds some value. So the recognition is that it's important. And the most popular social media sites for small businesses to connect with customers. 61% say that they reviews on social medias do influence their buying decision. Reviews are huge, I'm sure you guys know. And 68% of people look to Facebook reviews when purchasing products. Pinterest is next trustworthy at 56%. And the most popular social media sites for small businesses to connect with customers, Facebook is still reigns supreme, and that's a big one. And I personally think that it's because people use it on their own just naturally for personal reasons, so they're already naturally there. LinkedIn is the other big one, and I imagine that's mostly for B2B. So just a little bit about Kabbage and sort of when we're looking at how to uniquely and creatively connect with our customers. So our customer base are you guys, we're small businesses. And that can actually be, is anyone here B2B? I'm just curious, or are you all B2C, one B2B? So it's kind of interesting because we are service-based. We don't have a product. Is there anyone else here who's service-based? So, okay, great. So that can be a little tricky, and that's kind of why I wanted to highlight quickly what we're doing on Instagram, because when you don't have a product to highlight, or if you're not, say, like lifestyle businesses are really great for things like Instagram because they're very visual, but you know, we're a bunch of people in an office in San Francisco and Atlanta, and those pictures get boring really fast. And so what we're doing is we're actually using Instagram to rest on one of our biggest values, is that we promote small businesses. So one way that we got creative in order to start having something to put on our Instagram account is we actually every quarter give our employees a $50 gift card to shop any small business. And then we feature whatever they purchased on our Instagram, and that's just one of the creative ways that we figured out how to have a consistent presence on social media and also support the small businesses in our community. So with that, I wanted to turn to the panel and ask the first question, and I would say, you know, we can sort of, you know, start with Tom, and then, you know, anyone jump in. So I know you're a consultant, but certainly I'm sure you use social media for your own business too. How did you decide, or how do you help businesses decide which platform is best for the business?
Well, I actually don't use social media for my own business, strangely enough, but that's because I'm busy doing it for
everyone
others.
else's.
Yeah. But you know, to reinforce some of your statistics, there's platforms that everyone's on, and consequently the business owner usually wants to be on them, whether it's his or her daughter or whatever. They just, oh, we need to be on this. So, you know, the popular ones are obvious, but really I think you can make any of them work. And I don't think, you know, any of them are the route to go or the not route to go. Facebook is kind of an obvious must do, I think, but you can really do anything. When you look at demographics, that's one way to decide, but I don't think there's a cut and dry answer for that. I think what reflects your own style, you know, if you're a 60-year-old man, I don't think Snapchat is the right platform for you, because you couldn't probably pull it off like you're doing it. But so, you know, I think just a few of the big ones. It's not a real difficult decision, in my opinion. You know, you do. I would recommend doing two, though. You know, don't try to do everything, because it'll drive you crazy. It's a black hole. You'll spend all your time there. I would pick two and just make them work, and that's better than thinking about what's the right one.
I'd like to weigh in on this. I think that this really depends on that they were talking about before. Is your business visual? My business is visual, so we need things that have pictures all the time, really fast, which is Instagram for us, right? We started with Twitter. We'll tell that story later. And Twitter did have pictures, but it got better and better, right? And we also do Facebook. We do 4. His advice of doing 2 is really good advice. Listen to that. You know, pick 2. I am 61 years old, and we do Snapchat. We're just about to. Okay, so that's not exactly right. But I have a younger business. Okay, so I think it really depends on it really is about who your demographic is. Now, he's an expert to have that, right? But Instagram still for us is the best because it's got that instant thing. But we have more followers on Facebook, so you know. That's just what I wanted to weigh in with, is that it's really, for us, it's really visual and lifestyle driven.
And I think as well, building on both of those ideas, it's important to experiment and see what works best for you. I know when we started, I tried Google+, I tried Pinterest, Facebook, Twitter, also different areas of social media. Like for me as a boutique owner and interior designer, House is a bit like LinkedIn for interior designers. but I know, say, Yelp might be interesting for restaurateurs, or I look at all those other platforms that are less obvious, that are also really good in kind of not only just having reviews and for your customers, but building that online presence and that SEO for your website further down the line. But I think as well, being a visual medium, for us, what tracks best is our Instagram. I think we have almost 10,000 followers on Instagram now for a small business. We're thrilled with that, and I think that is because we are so visual, and because we use it very much as a brand building tool. So telling the story of our brand, telling the story of our artisans, how things are made, where things are made, and really offering our clients and our customers that authenticity, and really allowing that to kind of to build an experiential element to the brand. That's really helped us a lot. But like as Tom said, now we just focus on Instagram and Pinterest. Instagram largely for brand building, and Pinterest and a little bit Facebook to drive. We use that separately more as a sales orientated tool, so driving people to web. The second I get too salesy on Instagram and say, hey, look at our lovely new cashmere blanket, available now. Oh, people hate it. I lose followers, they unfollow, there's no engagement. But if I post a beautiful photo of a beautiful bed and offer them some sort of, expertise or advice or help, like try pairing this with this and use this color and place a mirror opposite the window to bounce the natural light. The second we offer, the second we're giving something to our users as opposed to telling them to buy something, that's when they really engage. And we found that kind of and that took a lot of experimenting to understand what they value and what bits that they, people couldn't care less about. So it's been a long learning curve, but it helps us a lot.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Sorry, that's interesting, as opposite of us, right? We have sales and promotions on ours, always very popular. Every outfit we follow, we do a whole outfit together, which is also a little bit like you're talking about, but we're obviously selling it. So that hasn't been a challenge, but that's very interesting. That's a very interesting difference.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's all.
No, I think certainly you have to try to figure out who your audience is and who you're targeting. And I have a cookie shop, so it's cookies. It's not so clearly targeted toward one demographic or another. But it is visual. It's very visual. So I think, and I should also say that I'm not by any stretch of the imagination, an expert on social media. I represent the contingency of small business owners who has embraced social media, kicking and screaming, dragging my heels, just not wanting to engage and to take the time. And that's why I work with Tom. He handles 99% of my
Plus,
social
I said
media.
I'd work for cookies.
Right, so
An important
it was
selling.
a perfect arrangement there. But I think it's also, I knew that it was important, and I knew that starting a business, it was sort of critical, but I just don't have the patience for it. It doesn't come naturally to me. Even before, in my previous life, I did have a Facebook page, but maybe I went on once every 2 or 3 months. So it's you can be like me and still have successful social media if you can find someone who you can work with. But I think certainly getting back to platforms for us, we focus on Instagram and Facebook.
And of course, with all the platforms, I'm sure everyone would agree, the most important thing is that you're responsive. We were just talking about broadcasting a message, which is a part of it. But the worst thing is you go say something like, I don't know, we have the new line in, and then maybe someone would ask you, Donna, do you have it in size 8?
Absolutely.
And then if you don't respond to that, it doesn't matter. You messed up. So this is social, right? That's the key word here.
How long do you have to respond?
The statistics say I thought you meant my response. I'm like, ooh, am I running long? Statistics say most consumers expect a response within 4 hours. Yes.
Absolutely.
And
That's correct.
so, and that's with Yelp, with, Google reviews, with anything. If you really need to be responsive. And so regardless of the platform you choose or the platforms you choose, if you put a message out there, someone replies, you have to reply back. And that's the hardest thing, is the monitoring. You think you said your piece and you're done. Well, you just started. So
Remember, it's a form of communication. It's like a new, fantastic, awesome, oh my goodness, gosh, heck form of communication. So if you ask me a question and I don't answer you for 2 hours, that's not, that's not really good, okay? So you have to be, it's like a customer service thing. If you're gonna go into that thing of doing social media, then treat it like they're your future clients and customers, and you wanna give them good service by answering.
And I would add to that too, because I saw everyone's face kind of fall when we said, when Tom said 4 hours. And it is true. I mean, it is great to have that two-way dialogue, and that's also a great way to diffuse anyone who's upset. Is the longer they sit there and they're angry, the more they may explode on social media. What I would add to that too is that setting expectations is really important. So on any of your, like on Facebook, put right on in the about section, we monitor this account Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. If it's outside of hours, please contact this. Or we aim to get back within X amount of hours. It's not necessarily going to make them feel better, but at least it sets expectations that this is, how often we monitor, and here's a way to get in touch with us quicker if there's something urgent, can help diffuse that a little bit. And the other thing too that I want to then leap into a question with you guys. So monitoring is very important, but luckily the beauty of our smartphones is that when often you get a new message or something like that, you can get notifications right on your phone. And I'm curious, in terms of that, from sort of a perspective of a busy business owner who is on the go all the time, what do you guys find helps you manage your social accounts on the go?
My employees. I don't do it. I have all these young women and men, not very many men actually, but young women working for me, okay? And they love it. They're in their 20s. They want to do it. They want to take photos. They want to monitor it. I have a little team, an actual social media team. I don't do it. I just oversee it. The only thing I really, really do is I approve content. I do approve all content, absolutely, right? But otherwise, they do everything. And they know it a lot better than I do, as far as how to use it.
Is that their primary job? Or
No,
okay,
that's their
so
extra job.
Okay.
They get paid extra for having that extra job.
Oh, okay.
Right, yeah. That's the way. If you're just by yourself, it's very small, but I do have more employees, and I utilize them. They want to do it. They're dying to do it. As you'll have someone in your business who's like, oh yeah, I want to do that. So, wow, let them do it.
Donna, I want to ask you a question because I am a customer of yours.
Oh,
And
thank you.
We're in the world of instant gratification.
Yes.
So, what was your response to 4 hours? I would think if I want to know if you have my size, I want to know right now.
Well,
Is 4 hours too long?
I mean, we try to do it within that time period. We try to do it as fast as we can, but sometimes it is 4 hours, and if that doesn't, I've never had anybody say, hey, why didn't you answer my question? So I've never had a problem with it.
I think it'd be like email. When you send someone an email or a text, you have a certain kind of intuitive sense on how long is appropriate to respond. And I was able to say that 4 hours so definitively is because I literally just read a giant study of a whole year. It's like 1.5 billion responses, and it was this big study, and 4 hours, which I just equate to half a day. You got to give them a half a day, and that's about as much patience.
But I also think if people they want an immediate answer, they're going to pick up a phone and call and get a live person. I mean, if I want to find out if someone has a size 8, I'm going to call them,
I don't want to argue with my boss, but I just picked up a client, West Burger. It's a kind of a hot burger place in town, and he has no phone. They have no phone there, and so he's a young guy, and it's a young clientele. It's in the Mission, and so. You know, to that point, like it was a challenge setting up certain social networks for West Burger because they ask for your phone number a lot of times to legit see if, you know, to authorize or whatever. And so, you know, all of his interaction with customers is coming through social media, and if he's really responsive, he's like, text me at this number, you know, like he'd want me to say that for him, but.
So he has a phone, he just doesn't have a phone number for the business.
He has his personal phone.
Right.
And if I text him and say, hey Wes, this person had cold tater tots, and he's like, private message him and tell him that next time he's in, his beer's on me or something. So like the communication process, no one could call him. I mean,
Which is frustrating. I'd be frustrated if I was a customer, but you know,
maybe that's how.
That's a generational thing.
Yeah,
maybe.
it's generational.
So.
I think as well, going back to the question of how do we manage it with such limited time, or you know, what are the most resourceful ways of managing it? There are tools in place. For example, Hootsuite is a very interesting tool in which you can set up and schedule your posts, and that's a nice way to kind of, you know, thoughtfully understand what are your strategies or goals for that week or for that month, and have them set up there, obviously knowing that the week always changes and evolves, but I think that can help in terms of not having it weighing on your shoulders all the time. In terms of industry best practice, I've heard lots of different figures thrown around. The latest I heard was that brands should be posting at least 1.5 times a day. That's talking specifically about Instagram. To me, that feels like a lot, and I won't post unless I feel that I've got something interesting to say. And not every day I do. So sometimes I post 2 or 3 times. Sometimes I post not at all. But so long as your messaging is consistent, your look and feel is consistent, I feel that we still get that same level of engagement. But just in terms of managing it in terms of timing, I don't use Hootsuite personally. I've just got a little folder on my phone, and every time I see something beautiful, I take a photo and I put it in that folder. And so I kind of post, you know, the day-to-days about the boutique and client projects, but I've got a whole lot of other images in my folders of, you know, things that have inspired me, or colors that I love, or a beautiful bedroom, or an old design project that I haven't quite shared. So if I am having a bit of a week with not enough kind of new live content to share, then I'll go into my folder and I can just share that quickly and easily, so that it's not a huge time drain. And then statistically, they talk about posts kind of going, again, I'm referencing Instagram because that's what we use the most, but that essentially after 3 to 4 hours, a post goes dead. So all your likes and your engagement will normally happen within that 4-hour window, I guess that half a day window. And so I make sure to be monitoring it specifically within that time, because if there are customer inquiries or people asking specific questions, I make sure that that's kind of when I'm most available to respond. And after that 4-hour window, you can kind of breathe easy a little and know that you're less likely to get inquiries in that time.
I'll add, Hootsuite's a perfect tool for most people. I think it's either free, or if you have a lot of stuff going on, it's $5 a month. You can monitor hashtag mentions, you can monitor any kind of mentions, you can monitor your competition. So to answer your question quickly, I'd say Hootsuite, I'd say Yelp Business, which is an app that kind of lets you reply to responses on your Yelp page really easily and quickly, and see what's going on with your Yelp reviews. And then Facebook Pages is a great one for businesses, because it gives you kind of insights to what's going on your Facebook page and lets you reply to comments, and really it lets you do everything much more easily on your business page, your business Facebook page. So I think Hootsuite can do almost everything for you. And there's ones that are a lot more expensive and maybe fancier, but they're no better.
I'd like to say something about posting often. Again, depends on your business. Our very knowledgeable interior designer here is posting visually like I am. So one thing is we post twice a day, all the time. We have a science down to it. I think the real challenge with posting, and you're certainly right about that within 4 hours, you're gonna get those likes like right now, or you're not getting them. By the end of the day, if you didn't get them, that wasn't such a good one, okay? But I think, wait a minute now, I lost my train of thought. I think really the challenge of social media, especially if you need it to be visual, is content. Okay, that's where the work is. The posting part and all of that, frankly, I don't think that's that bad. It's having the content all the time. That's the work. That's what my employees do, really. They take the photos, they put the outfits together. That's the work. She is going around, taking her own projects, but that work is done somewhere. She's, finding things that are beautiful. We also post lifestyle pictures of San Francisco, of different great shots in San Francisco, and it's content that's the hard part. That's just my opinion. That's the hard part to keep up if you really are doing it visually, or any kind of content, whether you're even talking to people or advertising your business. So that's the challenge. Look to your employees, is my advice. And yourself, if it's just yourself, obviously.
And I think as well, building on Donna's point, because it is so time consuming, creating
That's
that
the
content
content.
and creating those vignettes. That's why the lifestyle shots that Donna mentioned is great. So for example, I love flowers. So I post a lot of flowers. It's just personally what I like. And they always track really well. But if there are designers that inspire me or artists that inspire me, I make sure to share that content. And I'm always very clear in making sure that, I did not create this work. You cite where the work came from and who created it, who shot it. But that's a lovely way of having visual content and helping build your brand with all these other, beautiful influences, or showing a bit what inspires you in your day-to-day. So it's just kind of a quick, easy way to have beautiful content without having to go and be constantly staging and creating.
Another thing of that is Snapchat. Now, like I said, we're just about to go into Snapchat, but for a very specific reason, because it's young, it's hip, it's really neat, actually, but also because for like right now, I could do a Snapchat of this seminar, like little video, and it's a lifestyle thing. Oh, ambiance owner at, social media panel, blah, blah, blah. And that's really cool. They like that. So that's like really fast. You can it's the fastest thing. I don't know that much about it yet, but you can tell I'm excited about it.
Yeah, you have a question in the back?
Yeah, so on your point of creating content, so you have employees doing it for you. So you have guidelines for them as to what kind of camera to use,
Absolutely.
what consistency?
Absolutely. You have a whole, we do, I meet with my little team, from time to time, and I have all the pictures go into Dropbox. So I'm reviewing them all the time, and I don't like when I call them up and say, don't do this, do that, don't take it that way, blah, blah, blah. We've worked it over and over and over. It started out pretty pedestrian, really, and then it got better and better, and then that goes into visual merchandising, blah, 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 right? Especially when you're displaying clothes. And we use our own employees as models, because that's another thing. Like, don't go outside, don't hire things, don't worry about all that. Just do it yourself, right? Your employees are more engaged that way and more into it. It's more fun. Everybody's into it. Oh, look at the likes we got on that one. Oh, like that.
So would you ever use stock photos from vendors?
No, I really don't. It's not San Francisco. Right, we're a small business in San Francisco. You got to keep that San Francisco lifestyle vibe.
Anyway.
I'm sorry, pardon?
It's always the Golden Gate Bridge anyway.
Right.
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
You all have the advantage of being visually oriented companies. For those of us in B2B that are consultants, which is, professional services, a little bit more difficult to get the right visual image. Any advice in that area?
I think in that kind of industry, Twitter is a great one, and Google Plus too. Google Plus as well helps with search engine optimization for driving people to your website. But the reason why I love Twitter is that you can be sharing content, and sharing content's related to the fields that you're consulting in. That will really help position you as an expert in that field, and sharing kind of what brands you're engaged with or what consumer studies you're reading. I think that can help position you as an expert in that consulting field, whatever those niches are. So I think, as Tom said in the beginning, if you're not in a visual industry, maybe say Instagram or Pinterest isn't right for a lot of those service industries or consultancy industries. So it's about experimenting and finding which platform is most suited to your needs.
And LinkedIn probably too.
Yeah,
LinkedIn,
exactly,
I mean,
absolutely.
LinkedIn would be critical for B2B.
Yeah.
Are you blogging? Are you creating content on your own?
Yes. The challenge is, as you said, content is king.
That's right.
And,
It's the challenge.
I'm in the field of marketing, so I have a lot of competition. So what rises to the top? And it kind of annoys me. You talk about the frequency of, 2 posts a day. That's too much for what I do.
Well, and
I know
that's,
it's-
I think, let's delineate too between the types of content, because photo posts a couple a day is not a lot, or it's about right, but certainly blogging content twice a day, I mean, that's impossible. I mean, absolutely, that's all you would do is write all day, every day. And so, and can I ask what kind of, you're in marketing, is there any specific? Marcom. So, and do you have your own blog, or where are you blogging?
Yes. I blog on LinkedIn, I blog on my own website. So, and I also write content for the American Marketing Association.
Oh, wonderful. And what social platforms are you on now?
Facebook and LinkedIn.
How's Facebook going for you?
Not as good.
Yeah.
It's probably my own problem, because I see it more of a social medium.
Right.
And, everybody talking about what their kids are doing and their little dog, and I just posted a blog on my bird. So it's,
Well, and I think Facebook is more and more becoming a rub for businesses, because, we've all seen organic reach tank. And, at Kabbage, we, the amount of money we have to spend just to push our regular content into news feeds is jaw-dropping. And every time we do that, I think, what are these small businesses doing who do not have this kind of budget or time to set up ads? But Facebook is where everyone is. And that can be, I would imagine, as a small business owner, I'd be incredibly frustrated trying to spend time where everyone is, but basically shouting into the wind.
I like that image.
But I have to say, I think Jesse was spot on, is, Twitter. It really is. And honestly, what I would do if I were you, and I'm sorry to hijack this panel, but B2B marketing is my passion, is that not only, the content that you put out there and that you're writing is important, but it is time consuming. So I would also, set up are you using like Hootsuite or Buffer?
No, not yet. And
Okay.
I wanted to ask you how intuitive it is. I'm not a big reader of instructions.
It's super easy. It's neat that it arranges all the content in different columns, and they call them streams, I guess. And it's just super easy. And the app is ridiculously easy.
It is, and the great thing is that you can, pre-schedule. So, especially for those of you who are B2B and service-based, and you're thinking, well, what can I post? It's a lot harder when you don't have the beautiful visuals. So really what you're posting and what you're marketing is yourself. You're building your own brand. So I'm gonna grab your pens, because I'm gonna have you guys write a few things down. First of all is I highly recommend purchasing a book by author Dory Clark called The Power of You. And it's all about building your personal brand. And if you're service-based or B2B, that's really what you're gonna be looking for, is building yourself, delineating yourself as an expert in your field. Secondly, I would absolutely set up something like Hootsuite or Buffer or anything where you can pre-schedule your social media messages. Thirdly, if you are blogging, that is excellent, but don't feel like that's the only content you can share. I would get an account at feedly.com. It's free, and Feedly allows you to aggregate third-party content. It's basically like an RSS feed, but you can put in your industry. You can say, I'm in marketing, show me all of the top content about marketing. And you can, from there, load up third-party content and have the comment be like, what do you think about that article? You know, offer some thought leadership on that article, and that could be your tweet copy. I mean, it doesn't have to be long-form content every time. The other thing that I do personally, because, you know, like Tom, I run social media. I don't have a ton of time to run my own social media, unfortunately. I have a freelancer I hired from Upwork.com. I pay her like $30 a week, and she loads up my content for me. And it is worth that $30 a week because I've gotten so much engagement. And then what I can focus on is just responding to people who are responding to what's getting tweeted out. And I can focus on the human interaction rather than spending so much time on executional stuff like loading up posts. So to me, that $30 a week is well worth it. So that's just a little note for that.
Could you spell Feedly?
Feedly, Feedly, Feedly.com. The cool thing is, and I have some tools that when we get to the question about fun tools, and Hootsuite is one. I'm a big fan of Buffer, which is essentially a social media tool as well. And what I love about that is that Feedly integrates with Buffer, so you can actually schedule third-party content directly from Feedly to your Buffer account. It just makes things easier. But again, Hootsuite's great, Buffer's great. It's really whatever, you know, appeals to you. So that's going to lead me into my next question. Sorry for the hijacking.
That was very important.
I want to take some notes.
Yes.
So content is king, and what I find personally is that when I talk to businesses who are trying to work on their content, is what do I post? I don't know what to post, and it's for, you know, people who have products or service based alike. And, you know, one of the things I always tell people right away is before you even start on social media is, you know, first of all, write a copy. It's called a style guide and an editorial guide. You can Google how to do those. There's a million articles to help guide like what is okay to post on your social and what's not. Whether you have employees or not, it's just good to have that there to keep you on track. But then also decide ahead of time what are your content, what we call buckets, going to be your pillars, you know. So, you know, for a design company, you know, your buckets may be lifestyle stuff, behind the scenes stuff, pictures of beautiful textiles, and defining that ahead of time is really helpful to kind of make sure that you're staying on track and not having fragmented posting. So my question to you guys is, you know, how did you, when you started out in the social media game, how did you sort of sit down and brainstorm and decide exactly what you were going to be posting every day?
Well, I think that's probably pretty easy for me to answer simply because I have a cookie shop. So, you know, it's pretty narrow. I don't have a boutique where I could focus on, you know, shoes, or there's a lot of other things to focus on, but it's cookies. So, I mean, we have a little bit of ice cream. So I don't know that Tom and I ever really had that conversation because it was just sort of instinctual. But
they sell themselves.
Yeah, I mean, and I just have I have 15 cookies. So, you know, you can't keep posting the same cookie all the time. So Tom's been great about finding articles about, you know, baking, different types of cookies, you know, things about the Cookie Monster. I mean, you know, you have to try to get creative, and he's been really good about that.
You know, we're fortunate with social media, you have analytics. So you can mess up several times, and then as long as you learn from it and you're like, oh, this doesn't work, that doesn't work, and then you'll hit something. It's really trial and error. You'll start hitting upon something that you'll see way more people have responded to this, like you said, people are responding to your flowers or whatever. And then you kind of just start going down that path, and then, you know, the great thing about social media, I think, is that you can fail a bunch and learn from it. And eventually you'll start doing okay. But, you know, the overriding thing is try to be interesting. I think of social media as going into a party where I don't know anyone. And what am I going to do? Sit there and talk about myself the whole time? No, I'll try to like come up with something more interesting than that. So.
How do you get the audiences to actually engage in your content? You know, that's a big challenge as a small business owner. People just keep quiet and just read your article and that's it. And through analytics, as you said, Facebook, you can see how many people actually saw your article, and there's no one responding, and you're like thinking, what did I do wrong?
You know, there's certain kind of content that people don't hit their like button or something. Like if you posted a video, they may watch the video, and that's great because they're spending time on your post, and that's giving you kind of some equity in the social media platform's eyes. But you know, you just got to understand, try to get to know what works for your audience. What is your business?
I make worksheets for kids.
Pardon?
Educational stuff.
Okay.
I make worksheets.
I have no idea. No.
Yeah, I know.
And what platforms are you on?
I'm just on Facebook as of now. I tried Twitter and I got lost.
I'd actually recommend trying Pinterest because worksheets and teaching and stuff for kids is huge on Pinterest. So I would try there too. And Tom, whatever, I'm sorry.
No, I
Keep
think
jumping in.
Pinterest is a good idea. Twitter's is really hard to get response. I find like if you could tweet something great, and unless you're, you know, some celebrity, you're not going to get a ton of action on it. I don't know if you guys have found this.
I'm convinced that Twitter is just a bunch of marketers talking to themselves.
Twitter's an ego blow.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, Instagram is really pretty easy to get engagement. I always think of it as people are giving you like high fives. It's kind of easy for them to just like, yeah, that was cool. And hopefully you implant a little in the back of their mind, a cookie in Erica's case, and eventually they want to come eat one. And that's really the engagement we really want ultimately, even if they didn't like it. If they saw a delicious looking cookie, they were walking down Pine Street one day, I would hope that they remembered, oh yeah, that cookie place is here. So
I think the thing about trial and error, I know you guys want to ask questions, and I know we want to answer those. I'll just say this really quick. I think the thing about trial and error is a really big deal. When we started out, I was talked into it most vociferously by one of my managers, which is really good. I listened to her, right? She did a whole presentation for me. This is how we could do it. We started out on Twitter. And Twitter definitely for fashion is not the best platform. And it barely had pictures then. You had to open it. It was very complicated. But we did it anyway, right? And then they talked me into Facebook. And then Facebook, of course, was much better for us. But when we started out, we just took pictures and stuck them up there. We didn't have a big discussion about it beforehand because, like our cookie owner said, we're in, you know, if she has cookies, we have clothes, so, and shoes and all that stuff. So it's easy to take a picture of that and put it up there. But I'll tell you something that did happen is that after a few years, I looked at all our social media and realized that we were completely old-fashioned and we sucked. I mean, I just was like, oh my God, what has happened to us? We look like fashion for old ladies here, okay? Not young, hip, great, you know, like what our brand is. We weren't showing our brand. So you have to figure out whether you're in a service industry or visual, you have a brand. And you have to, you know, figure out your brand and make a brand, including whatever presentation you make. So that's all. And I think they got some questions out there.
I think if I could just say one more thing, building on Tom's point about being, how it's a bit like, what was it, being at a party by yourself? Well, I think party of strangers, but I think what's also great about social media is it removes a lot of the barriers. So it's wonderful for networking and for reaching out to people in your industry, in your network, that you might not normally speak with. So I when I moved to San Francisco, I didn't know anybody 3 years ago. So social media, I started once I opened the boutique to let people know that we were there. But it was a really great way just to quickly reach out to someone, just to let them know, you know, you really like their brand or you really like their shop or what they're doing. And I found that's happened in return. And a lot of relationships, work relationships and friendships have started on social media and then evolved from there into real life relationships. So I certainly always encourage people not to be don't be shy. I mean, it's always lovely to get a message from someone that likes your designs or enjoys your cookies or would like to meet for coffee to talk about X, Y, and Z. So I think from a networking perspective, I mean, obviously LinkedIn is kind of king, but you know, Facebook and Instagram and even Twitter, they're great ways for meeting people too, particularly people in your industry that share your interests or your aesthetic, or just your actual geographic location being San Francisco.
Yes.
So I had a question to the business owners. You're mostly speaking about building your brand on social media. Have you ever tried to calculate if any sales came actually from that? Like, have you tried to calculate if you were able to capitalize those efforts and hours and content?
Sure.
That's a great question.
Yeah, it is. It's really hard to kind of say, right, what was our return on investment when you look at it at a time perspective. And particularly, say for example, Instagram, you have your URL in the profile, but people can't click to buy directly as yet. There are a few apps like It to Know It, and Whitley is the newest, so people that are trying to make Instagram more shoppable. But in terms of measuring the success, it's when we post something, it's then they lead into phone calls saying, hey, I saw that lamp in a post you did yesterday. Could you confirm the dimensions and do you have 2 available? So we kind of, occasionally we get posts where we get a lot of inquiries, and we really measure our success based on, you know, customer inquiries and the subsequent sales, as opposed to measuring likes and engagement, which is all great from a brand building tool, but often the posts that get the most likes and engagement, they're not the same ones that result in customers through the door. I know Facebook is great with its analytics, and you can really target your ads to, you know, the Bay Area, to the age, to how many cars, did this person buy a house recently. Is actually very creepy when you target your Facebook advertising. The information and the psychographics and the demographics is so specific, it's creepy, but it's so good for small business owners. So they make it a little bit easier to track. Likewise, Pinterest, we haven't tried to sell directly through them. But for us, it's very instinctual at the moment. We are a small business, so it's just kind of, we measure it just on fielding phone calls and foot traffic that certain posts have generated.
And if you want to take it to the next level, which just depends on your bandwidth, and I know that running social alone as a small business owner can be really difficult, but you know, if you're looking to measure things like leads and conversions, then you're going to want to start looking into Google Analytics. And from there you can get UTM tracking codes that you share every time you share out on social any link, or you have that link in your bio, that tracking code will be on there and you can track where they came in from. But I mean, that's going to definitely be a bit more time consuming, and if you're just starting off, I definitely recommend starting, you know, looking at sort of the engagement and that kind of a thing.
If she has that much engagement, then look whatever she's doing and do that, okay? Because that's a fair amount of engagement. We don't have anything, we don't have a web, we don't sell on the web, we don't have e-commerce. So I don't need to drive people to my website, so I don't have that, you know, we're not using it for that. We're just using it because you should be on social media, right? It's really simple. It's just another way to get yourself out there. Should you worry about whether you got leads or whatever from it? Probably somewhat, but we don't worry about that. Any type of advertising, that's the way I think you got to think of it, especially in small business. Any type of advertising, especially something that's basically free to a large degree, you should be doing and putting yourself out there. It's way more important than what you get in. At some point, that's going to cause the in, but you need the out. So that's my opinion of that.
In the back.
So we at Rickshaw Bagworks, we use Instagram a lot now, and I'm the owner, and it is very time consuming, but for the last 6 months I have really engaged in it, and the things that I find are useful is I look at who's looking at us, I look at what other people are doing, to your point, see what successful people are doing and start, you know, there's a reason why they're getting a lot of followers and they're getting a lot of likes, because people like what they're doing. And the other thing that we've found very useful is, since our products are often used by people who like other products that are sort of similar in brand, we look at brands that are cross-pollinating each other. We'll go get that pen and pair it with our journal cover and post a picture that tags both of those, and all of a sudden you get the people that are following that other brand peeking into what you're doing. And even a lot of times brands will they'll repost a photo. They might love the photo that we took, and that saves them content for the day. They're like, oh great, Rickshaw took a great photo. I can repost that. That's one less thing I have to do today. And so if you start generating those relationships, that's where the network effect takes effect. It's all of a sudden it starts multiplying because other people are talking about you and reposting, and likewise you're doing that for others. So everybody starts cross-pollinating their following groups. So you really, as an owner though, should take some time, even if you're not going to do all the posting, to do a deep dive in what's going on with yours. And like you, I found out I didn't think my brand, the brand that I own, is my dream and my vision, it wasn't really being portrayed the way I wanted it to. I was sort of letting it run open loop. And so re-engaging, at least for a time, and I actually started doing the photos and doing the postings and making the words work in the way that I wanted to, so I could set an example for my employees who are now going to start doing that. And I like your idea of posting it to Dropbox and being the ultimate arbiter of what goes on. And giving feedback to people saying, look, that one didn't really work, but here's why, and here's how if you tweaked it a little bit, it could work.
Dropbox has been amazing on that.
Those are some great ideas. The interesting thing on a cool brand like yours is there's people talking about your brand that have nothing to do with what you've done. They're out there saying, oh, look at my killer new backpack, or I'm riding to somewhere and I've got all my camping gear in here. And that's even more important in my opinion, because they're telling their 200, 300 friends, they're advertising for you. And when you can see that they're doing that, when you're monitoring the social sphere and you see that someone mentioned you unprompted by you, and you thank them, like you like their posts, because you can see when someone mentions you, and you like their post, that goes a million miles, because they're like, wow, that cool brand recognized me for saying something. And then, I think that's the untapped thing about social media that we really haven't been talking about, is the stuff that other people are doing for you. If each person has 420 Instagram followers and 270 Facebook friends on average, if you can get 10 of those people talking about your stuff, that's better than you talking about it yourself, for sure.
And do be patient. It is, you just said cool brand. I will tell you, we have under 4,000 followers on Instagram, and we add them, and it depends on what you post, but I'm making a note on my calendar every time we add 10, just because I want to watch this process, go back and look at it. But it is the long game, because every day you go, oh, this is an awesome photo. You post it, like, nobody liked it, nobody and then you post something completely inane, and you get a bunch of people, and you don't know, and then one morning I wake up and 10 new people are following me. I didn't even do anything. What happened? So being aware of what's going on around you, but also knowing, it just takes a long time to get people following. And I see other people who have like 100,000 followers, and you're like, God, they're just posting ridiculous stuff. So you don't know what the formula is, and also you will get constantly barraged by people who write you a note saying, hey, I can get you 100,000 followers, come do this, and I erase all that stuff. I just can't be bothered with that. You have to grow it organically and authentically. And when people, also you can watch your numbers decline. Every once in a while we'll have a down day. And I've just decided, you know what, this is great. This is a few people that were following me because they thought they could ride my coattails. They've dropped off because I'm evidently not doing what they want. The people that stick around are the people that actually are watching what you're doing, like what you're doing, and are engaging with you. So you're, up and down. It's really just weeding out and making your following more, the more direct people who really care about what you're doing. And it doesn't take 1 million followers to make a business. You can, your business, if you just have a few thousand really good followers, even a few hundred really good followers, and that are listening to you and responding to your promotions and your brand efforts, then that's worth 1 million people who really don't care.
Absolutely. So I wanted to talk about, we touched briefly on Hootsuite, and I put together some of my favorite tools that are either free or insanely cheap. And I wanted us to maybe each touch on, you know, what our favorite tools are for managing. I put up there, I love Buffer. Again, that's an alternative to Hootsuite, but it's really whatever you like. Give them both a try. Canva is excellent for making beautiful images or like image quotes, that kind of a thing. If you don't know Photoshop, Canva's amazing. I live and die by Trello, which is basically, in a sense, a project management platform. It is free, and I use it both for my personal life and for work life. But I do my entire content calendar on Trello. I manage all my freelance writers on Trello. All of my campaigns are if Trello goes out of business, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. Schedulegram is a way to pre-schedule your Instagram photos, and it's like $20 a month. And you can, if you have all your photos, you can just load them up for the week and hashtag them and the whole bit and send them out. So that's a really nice way, because a lot of the social tools like Buffer and Hootsuite don't offer that Instagram integration, unfortunately. So Schedulegram's a really good one. And then Upwork is where I talked about how I have a freelancer who helps me with my social media. Upwork is basically a marketplace for freelancers that can do just about, you can find a freelancer for anything, for blogging, managing social media, website design, and they're rated, so it's kind of like Yelp for freelancers. You can see who's gotten really good marks and you know, done a good job. So those are kind of the roundup of my favorites, but I thought we should go down the line, and I'd love to know sort of what your favorite tools are, or is there one thing you cannot live without? We'll start with Tom.
Personally, I just, as you said earlier, the notifications on your phone, you know, because I'm the biggest fan of being responsive for my clients, and if someone makes a comment or asks a question, I want to know that it happened. So, like I said earlier, Yelp Business is a great, you know, because I have so many restaurants, so it's a lot of Yelp, and Facebook pages are what I use on, you know, your phone. I'm really, you know, you have to take it to your phone too, because if you think you can do this all from your desktop, it's not going to work. And I actually think that the Facebook algorithm is starting to favor posts done from a phone. They're so focused on their mobile strategy that I'm seeing that posts done from a phone are performing better than an identical post done from a desktop, which is, I don't know, weird, but it's kind of what I feel is happening. So,
I think for me, in terms of tools, Camera Plus is another really good photo editing tool. But most of the time, I just use the editing tools in the Instagram app, and I switch between usually the same 2 filters, and that helps. That means the whole gallery and the whole feed has a really consistent look and feel throughout, rather than sometimes doing some photos sharp, some dark. So just using those same 2 filters just helps create coherence. So I'd say they're probably my 2 main tools.
Yeah, my favorite tool, his name is Tom. Again, I remember
That's the nicest way someone's been.
I know, right? I mean, I'm notoriously, really, I'm representing the people out there who just think of social media and just go, don't want to deal with it. So,
in Erica's defense, she knows so much more about her brand and her audience. They come in her store every day. When she posts something, and she knows how to post, don't kid yourself, it does great, and it actually is better than what I would have done. So, you know, I love when she gets inspired and wants to say something. Business owners always can do better than consultants. It's just they don't have that much time or interest.
yeah, I mean, it is a goal, personal goal, to become a bit more engaged. But occasionally I do get inspired. And again, I'm always Instagram. I mean, that's what I do, Instagram. And also I just want to say something about Yelp. I mean, I actually try to avoid Yelp as much as possible, just for me, because it's, as a business owner, I get too reactionary, like if I see a mediocre review or something on Yelp. And so I was given the advice when I first started, to after, like, I think I was 2 months in business and I got my very first 3-star review, and I kind of had a meltdown. And, you know, I had friends finally say, you have to not pay attention to that. And so that's one of the great things that
Really good
Tom
advice.
does, is he, you know, responds to all the Yelp reviews. And I rarely, if ever, look at Yelp. On the flip side, people come in all the time and tell me, we came to your shop because we read about you on Yelp. So, I mean, it's critical. For me, it's super critical, and it drives a ton of business, but anyway.
That's good. And I'm not proud to say that I didn't even know what a tool was before this. I had no idea. I don't
Well,
know.
Box is one that you like, clearly.
Pardon?
Box is one that you like.
Dropbox.
Oh, Dropbox.
Dropbox,
Okay,
yeah.
yes. Yes, we use Dropbox. I already said that. You know, my tools are my employees, okay? Really. And they're not tools, so it works out really well, okay? They're really, really good. And they may be using things that I actually don't even know about. You're right, I mainly use Dropbox. And I review it, and I, you know, correct it or do whatever, and then it goes to post. I also post all the, not post, but I also review all the content, whatever, not the pictures, but the words as well. That's really it. We don't really use these other things. We're gonna check out one of those ones you mentioned though, Canva, that sounds good. So I learned something about that too, that's good.
So I'm going to ask one more question, and then after we're done with this, we can open it up for more audience questions. But I do want to touch on the Yelp thing. You know, one of the things that I find when speaking to business owners about using social media is that their biggest fear is some sort of, I'm sure everyone's heard by now of Amy's Bakery, the big social media meltdowns, you know, everyone's kind of scared of saying the wrong thing or doing the wrong thing and having it turn into a headline on BuzzFeed,
What was
you know.
Amy's Bakery?
Oh, Amy's Bakery, sorry, for those of you who don't know, Amy's Bakery was on one of those, it's a bakery in, I want to say Arizona, and it was in one of those, you know, reality shows like Come Fix Up My Bakery. I forget the name of the show, this was years ago. And what ended up happening is that one of the owners said something not very nice, and it turned into an onslaught of people leaving negative reviews on both Yelp and going to their Facebook page. And what happened was the owners, in response, just let loose on Facebook in the most spectacularly, like, worst way you could imagine. I mean, just all caps yelling and getting into arguments with people on Facebook, and it was just this like massive social media meltdown, and all the media sites started covering it, and I mean, it was just this big deal. And granted, they kind of contributed that themselves because they didn't filter themselves on social media, but I do know one of the things I hear most is people afraid of just even, you know, we're in a culture now where the smallest things people say publicly turn into, you know, anger and being offended, and I know that I talk to a lot of business owners who are scared of accidentally saying the wrong thing and having it turn into some big massive like social media blow up, or having a situation that turns into a social media blow up. And so, you know, Yelp is a big tool where, you know, people can go and review, and you know, who knows, maybe those reviews are legitimate, and maybe you just caught someone on a bad day and they decided to take their anger out on you. And you know, I know that is something that makes business owners very nervous because, you know, like Erica said, you don't want to, you put your life's blood into your business, and you don't want to see someone talking poorly about your baby online. So what are your guys', you know, how do you manage around sort of negative comments or negative reviews, that kind of a thing? Let's start with Tom.
Oh, well, there's two kinds of negative reviews. There's the kind that someone just doesn't like it and there's no real reason. And those, you can't really, you can say, hey, I'm sorry you didn't like it, you know, we hope you come back and try our pancakes if you didn't like the French toast or whatever. But if someone says like something that you can control, the service was terrible, the dishes were dirty, if you say the help wasn't helpful,
Absolutely.
then I think you have to remember you're not necessarily just responding to that person. You're responding to everyone who reads the reviews, and they want to see how you handle it. So if people are drawn to 1-star reviews, they love to read them and see the train wreck, and you have to You have to rise above it. You have to address the situation, apologize, and say we're going to fix it, and here's how we're going to fix it. But in the first situation, if someone just doesn't like it, that's fine too. They cannot like your cookies, although no one has ever said that. But if someone said, I don't like cookies, you know, and I'm not going to go here anymore, I can't argue that. I can't say anything. So the important thing is not to lose your temper, not to argue with them, and try to rise above, because it's like when you send that email you wish you hadn't, you know, or you're like, ooh, I wish I thought about it for another day. That's kind of like responding to Yelp reviews. You just want to like be as nice as possible and really try to address the problem. If there's a problem you can fix. You're not going to change your recipe of your Eggs Benedict or whatever just because someone didn't like it. But so remember, you're not responding to the person, you're responding to everyone who reads the review, I think. So you might not be able to win that person over, but at least you can keep other people coming in because of the way you handled it.
Anyone else on the panel?
Yes, I have a lot to say about this. Okay. Let's see. I actually on social media, I think I've only gotten a couple of, you know, bad comments, and it's usually about service. It's actually always about service, in fact, right? The service was bad, I was ignored, whatever. We answer those right away. We privately message the person, we do the whole thing, and I offer them basically free clothes, okay? I just say, come in, I'll give you, you know, $50 or whatever will make you happy. If they say the thing fell apart, come in, we'll replace it. You have to be really on top of those. To ignore those is death, okay? Really death. Now, I also have another system though that you guys might like to know about that's not necessarily with social media, but is all over everywhere. It's all over my website, it's all over our business cards, and that's feedback at donna@ambiancesf.com, okay? And that means any kind of feedback, and I do get plenty of feedback. I get a lot of great feedback, and then I get bad ones. And that direct, having any kind of direct, whether you do it through social media or you do it like this, having any kind of direct thing where that person can directly contact the owner of the business and say, you know, well, I got messed over today, and I respond to every single one of those to keep it cleaned up. But I will tell you something I don't do is I ignore Yelp completely. I personally hate Yelp, but mainly I don't like it, not because I don't think it's a good platform or whatever they call it. I think that you just sometimes get very vicious people who go on and for fun say incredibly mean things. And so I kind of ignore it. Even though I have actually a pretty good Yelp standing, it's probably something that from hearing this I could look into more. I learned something again today. These great guys over here, very expert. And I just encourage you to have some sort of a thing where if you're the owner, they can talk to you. And you will answer. And you will not ignore it, and you will not get mad. You will investigate why that went wrong immediately and fix it. It gives you such a chance to fix your business. And you can weed out some pretty gnarly employees that way too. You know, if you have more employees that you're not directly watching all the time. So
that's great advice.
Great.
I have to tell you, I have a client who has a restaurant, I should say had a restaurant, who got a 1-star review on Yelp. He responded to the person, and that 1-star review kept popping up. He kept getting 5-star, 4-star reviews. That 1-star review from 2 years ago was still on that first page. What most people don't realize is that there's a filter at the bottom of the Yelp page for that particular business, and you see more reviews. He actually took on Yelp. He sued Yelp in small claims court because the bad reviews had affected his business negatively. And when he talked to corporate, they said, really, maybe you should buy some advertising. So, you know, any helpful advice about dealing with some of the negativity, and sometimes you can't help who's giving the review, you know, and they could be just vicious people. Any advice?
Absolute lies.
Absolutely, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
I think people can tell when there's a jerk out there just being a jerk. Like,
But
they
as you said,
exist.
they like that one star review
Yeah.
because it's good for a laugh or whatever.
But Yelp does bubble up reviews in a strange way, and I think it wants to show a balance between good reviews and less good reviews, or less good, yeah. So it's hard to get rid of some of those things, and hopefully the overall rating of your client's restaurant was over 3.5 stars, hopefully 4, and you can survive
It's the
those.
oldest Italian family-owned restaurant in the country.
It's the oldest,
Nice.
and it's not open anymore, huh?
It's open,
Oh.
but new owners now, another family.
Oh, interesting.
In talking about time, what's the pros and cons of doing posting on Instagram and then just copying it to Twitter and Facebook and all of that?
You know, different platforms have different styles of posting, and it's certainly not ideal to do that, but everyone does it. It's like kind of like almost everyone's Instagram is linked to its Facebook, or their Twitter is to their Facebook, or vice versa. I think that's fine. There's certain types of content that don't cross-platform very well, like you pointed out, links, you know, you don't work on Instagram. But if you're talking about timing, different times a day is certainly important to mix it up. You know, different people use social media at different times. Some people wake up, roll out of bed, go through their feed, and then don't do it again till night or something. But I think it's just the reality of the situation. You aren't going to be able to manage a ton of social platforms all independently, all perfectly. I think you get diminishing returns trying to pursue that.
We just post it like that, just straight across. No time to worry about it. It works out.
Yeah.
I find for me this is a great opportunity. I have developed a product and I got US patent in a very short time this year. And I've been selling it on eBay and Amazon. It's selling very well. The product, but it's one per customer, you know. It has a huge market. Tell you about the product, it's ball picker-uppers. And it caters to table tennis, golf, cricket, tennis, softball, baseball. And there is nobody in the market to compete. But when I go and talk to Walmart or some other people, they say, how many have you sold? Because it's a new product. So I've decided that I have to go through internet. And the next step is social media marketing. And I'm looking for somebody who can do a good job, but not with upfront cost. Because I want to keep my cost minimum so even the kid can afford it. And that's how I've developed the product. So any comments or any advice how to go about it? I'm looking for somebody who can really, you know, there is a handsome return, but not upfront.
Do you have an answer?
Yeah,
Okay.
I work at an advertising agency and I know how expensive social media is because like I get paid and it's ridiculous. And so like I'm actually like leaving the ad world and like starting my own thing because I don't think it's very fair. Like social media is like this new market and new marketing market and advertising, and like people are taking advantage of things like that. So I think like a lot of people like online, there's like a lot of freelancers, like they said like Upwork and things like that. There's like so many avenues, and since social media is like new, like I don't think it's like actually that expensive compared to advertising agencies, in, especially in San Francisco. It's insane.
Yeah,
So there's a lot out there.
Because I used Google AdWords, and in they came up with search engines. It was computer generated, and there were some pornographic words, and but what happened was there was an expert. I said, you have to keep on changing, until I get the proper results. But he was busy. Anyway, he said that in 3 weeks' time, he showed me that I got 35,000 clicks. He said, you have definite market in the world. That is what was proven. Now I'm trying to, find out how best to approach, through social media marketing, internet, because as you say, when I got patent, there are quite a few parties who came and says, we can sell, there is a great market, we can sell the product. I said, please don't sell yourself. I want to sell my market, and I want to sell my product, and when I sell my product, I want to pass on handsome commission. So I'm looking for that opportunity. That's why, when you discuss this, I feel that I should present my case and see if I can get some help.
Yeah, to me it sounds more, thinking through and talk, it sounds like it's going to be more of, even though it involves social media, more of a business partnership approach versus a social media partnership approach. So yeah, I would look at things like Upwork, and I think I suggested before, just kind of some of the message boards where you might find someone to partner with and see who'd be willing to do that. I'm going to go over here and I'll come back to you. Yes?
Yeah, this is a question going back to kind of content and content strategy. I think a lot of the Instagram brands that I follow, there's a good mix of, whether it's like a nice picture of what meal that they're serving for that night, but there's also a good mix of kind of behind the scenes and lifestyle. And I know that I can appreciate that there's like an experimentation with what type of content and how you kind of post that, but has there been any analytics that show like a good balance that maybe that makes engagement really great for that particular brand?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it really, this is where it comes into knowing your own audience and knowing your brand and kind of coming up with those posting buckets. And it's hard because I actually personally cringe a little bit when I hear anyone talk about small business owners as like a whole umbrella, because it's like saying, small business owners are so diverse. There's different reasons they got into having a business. There's different things they do. There's 5 different stages of the business life cycle that's going to affect what they're going to do on social media and how they're going to post. And so that's where I think looking at what your competitors are doing is important. But like one of our panelists said, it's going to be slow going because it's going to be a lot of trial and error. So what performs well for one business may not perform well for you. And what I would do, if I were you, is I would start looking at who your competitors are, get an idea of sort of their content categories of what they're posting, and you can actually just scroll through, say, their Instagram and get an idea of what kind of content is getting them a lot of likes, and then just start playing around with different things. And the thing where it gets tricky that you have to remember too is it's not just about the content you post, it's about when you post it. So for instance, we started finding out that most of our social media posts and content and things that we send out to small businesses, we actually get the most engagement at like midnight, 2 in the morning, because that's when a small business owner finally has time to freaking check their phones and their email and stuff, is that night after the kids are in bed, or they just got back from a business trip. So we found that the same exact content did so much better when we posted it at night. So that what I would do honestly, and what I do is open up a spreadsheet and literally write down every single parameter of what you can test: time of day, type of content, hashtags that you use, and every week test one of those things differently. And it is slow going, there's no doubt about that, but over time you're going to know your audience like the back of your hand, and that's going to be invaluable information.
Or hire someone to do that.
Or hire someone to do it if you can. Yeah.
It's too complicated.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I run a small strength and conditioning facility, also a fitness club.
Oh, uh-huh.
And I'm kind of like you in terms of social media. It's just not my thing at all. But I've recently kind of been forced to, start with like Instagram. And my biggest concern right now is like a lot of pornographic people, like kind of all over the place. Do you have any advice?
So you mean with the hashtags and fitness? Or?
Well, no, it's like, there's I have a lot of requests of like, just crazy photos of people that want to follow me, and based on the photo, you can tell that it's like,
oh, you know what? Yes.
You know,
Okay,
you're in
so
that
those are
field,
bots.
Yeah.
And those are you can. I would just block them.
I mean, they keep pops, they just keep blocking
Yeah,
every
and you
time.
know what? So every quarter, Instagram does this mass culling of audiences. And you'll see, like, if you have Instagram, one day you'll wake up and you'll have suddenly like 100 less followers. It's because what they do is they can go through and see which accounts are spam and fake, and they get rid of them. So if those are like the pornographic, the girls and the, oh, call me, I'm near you, or whatever, I would just block them. Yeah, it's annoying, and hopefully Instagram comes up with a better way of handling that, but there's a million of them. They pop up all the time. Report them. You can report them, and then block them.
I just wanted to give this gentleman a little bit of advice and say, before you rush into social media, really have your marketing plan and your strategy in place, and really understand what your positioning is and who you're really trying to target. Don't think that social media is going to be the answer to all of your marketing problems. You know, you really have to do your homework first so you can give some guidance to a consultant, and then they can run with it. Okay?
That is great advice. Social media is not like gonna solve all your problems. It's not a miracle drug. It's not like a turnkey solution to getting rich. I think, you know, Donna probably knows. It's just, and I think you said, it's a piece of the puzzle, and like you just said, it is marketing, and there's certain rules in marketing that exist, you know, like positioning and, you know, strategy, and it's not like a miracle. It's just a miracle in that everyone's connected and you can connect, and businesses are trying to tap into it, but it's you can have I'm sure plenty of people have great businesses without any social media, and very few people have great businesses solely because social media. I don't
would
know
agree
if
with that.
So
I agree with you, and with that idea, I don't want to pay upfront. I want to see how things develop, because my thing is, I want to see that I increase my, sales, and then the large retailers, then they fall into place. Otherwise, I'm small fry. Who are you?
Yeah, I think her advice about finding a partner.
Yeah,
Is going to be the
But
best solution.
you know, I dealt with a client who had a similar situation, wanting to get found and discovered by the big buyers, and they do look at if you are attracting any kind of audience and getting engagement. So I think you can have a social media presence. I think you can find consultants who will do it on spec, kind of, and there's a lot of us out there, and I don't charge my clients until after they like it. I mean, I don't want to get paid if it's not working. So I think you can. I'll get your card and I'll send it out to a couple people and see if get some responses.
I have a website, I'll give you my card.
Okay, yeah, I have some friends.
You had a question?
Yeah, so we talk a lot about communicating to your followers. Can you guys comment a little bit on following and how that might help you, or you use it and so on?
For me, for example, I use a lot of, I follow a lot of people in my industry, so other designers or architects or real estate agents or home staging companies or other San Francisco small businesses. So people that are really kind of, I think of like, where else are my customers hanging out? For example, on Sacramento Street, we've got about a dozen stores that are all home orientated. So I make sure to follow those stores too, and we all follow each other because we all share a very similar audience. Another thing that's great too is following, who are the key tastemakers or bloggers in your industry. So my kind of world of interior design and lifestyle, I follow a lot of the design bloggers and tastemakers and fashion-orientated bloggers. And I follow and engage with them. We've done some collaborations together. We did one where a blogger took over our Instagram for the day, and she showed behind the scenes of of styling her bedroom. We've done other blogs where we've gifted bloggers product, and in return they've photographed the product. But what performs best is when, as someone that's influential in the social media world, just comes into the boutique and likes something and takes a photo and shares it because she wants to share it. And that's what we like best, and I think that's what resonates best with our following, because it's a lot more authentic than, say, the planned collaborations. But those collaborations are great because you kind of you can be assured that you're talking with a design-orientated audience if that's what that specific blogger is known for.
That's a very good question, and she's explaining it really, really well. That's an extra development of doing the social media. I haven't even used it to the full degree that you could. In our case, we follow all the brands we carry. Okay, so, and those brands follow us. They often ask us for our pictures so they can post them. Now that's a national thing, so that gets tricky. It doesn't matter as much, right? But when you follow somebody, if you're following someone that you really like and you comment on them, that's the thing. Whoa, I really like that. Ambiance San Francisco really likes that, da-da-da. That's where you get that thing going, right? But the other thing I think is really important is engaging bloggers. Bloggers are huge. And we have aggressively, anytime a blogger comes in, we will offer them free clothes to, post about us. And we'll follow them, and we have a whole relationship with a blogger who has 30,000 followers. We've done a party for her, blah, 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 blah. So that's a whole resource that's, we're not even tapping into to as much as we could, but we're working on it. I think it's very important to do that. How you get thousands of followers, I don't know. I think you have to be a celebrity. She has 10,000. She's pretty cool.
She's a local celebrity.
She is. So
I think some of the most successful things I've done from almost like a PR perspective have been the involvement with some bloggers. And a couple of bloggers have done little contests for, whoever responds or reposts, they'll be within the next 24 hours is eligible for a dozen cookies from Cookie Love, and those have been very successful.
Can you say that post again? What they do?
Well, some of the bloggers, it's trying to meet these food bloggers. There's a couple of gals in particular, and they have a blog, and they did a post on their blog. They did a little write-up on Cookie Love. And then they said to their followers, whoever reposts this is eligible to win a dozen cookies. So they do a little contest like that, and it's within a time window, and then they track it all, and it's been great because then I get a lot of mentions and people follow up.
And I think as well, it doesn't have to be bloggers. If you can just be encouraging your regular customers to come in. I've seen different stores incentivize, there's a store on Chestnut Street, the name's Two Skirts on Chestnut Street down from US, where they did something where it's 10% off if you post a photo of inside the store. So you don't reaching out to bloggers, it's hard to get because everyone's scrambling to get them. Influencers, tastemakers, a lot of the time they either want free product or they want to be paid. But if you can just be encouraging your customers or clients at the end of the day to be sharing your content, that's lovely because it's a really genuine relationship. People will see that is a genuine customer as opposed to a blogger. And if you get enough of that, it's just a nice way to be organically growing your brand and organically growing your content. And it doesn't have to be incentivized financially. A lot of the time it's just, we just have a little sign at the checkout that just has our Instagram handle and a hashtag. And that just reminds people, it's just politely saying, hey, if you want to, make sure to tag us.
She's reminding me of all the things that we do too. We absolutely posting, those are some of our most likes. That's really, really big point. A customer will send in a picture to that same Donna at Ambiance thing, okay? And say, I wore this to my wedding, this was on my vacation, blah, 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 I'm on Ambiance, I'm with Hillary Clinton in Ambiance, we've got a political gal. we repost all of that stuff. And those likes on that are huge. Whenever we have a private party, we give a lot of free private parties. We post all those pictures. That's huge. Yeah, better than bloggers, that's true. You're gonna have to do something to get the blogger.
So that's excellent information. We're over time. The last thing to kind of cap on that is if I were to give you guys 2 terms to look up on Google, would be influencer marketing and ambassador marketing, because those are the 2 things that they're really talking about, and there's tons of great info on there on how to do both of those things. They're 2 separate programs, but they are very much intertwined, and as you can see, they are very successful. So those are definitely 2 things I would recommend you guys do some research on, if you want to look at building up more of your marketing efforts. I want to thank you guys on the panel so much. This has been so helpful and wonderful and enlightening. I'm not sure if any of you guys are going to be around after. If there's questions, I will be downstairs at the Kabbage table on the 1st floor for a little bit if you guys have any questions or want to come talk to us. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you put the contact page back up for the beginning of the deck?
This isn't
This one?